Welcome in everyone to your weekly weather briefing for Thursday, March 14th, 2024. My name is Brett Albright, meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, Atlanta, and I'll be giving your briefing today. All right, we'll go ahead and jump into our weekly weather highlights and risk levels. You should notice right away that we are at a level 2 on Friday, and that is for a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms in the region, with the primary hazard being damaging winds. Rain showers may linger into Saturday morning across mainly central Georgia, but for the most part, Saturday should be dry in our region. And then on Sunday, another weak storm system moves through, and this could produce some scattered shower and thunderstorm activity, mainly across central Georgia over the course of the day. On Monday, we will see a frontal passage, and this will bring the potential for frost and freeze concerns in the morning, with some of those temperatures potentially getting down into the upper 20s across North Georgia and 30s and low 30s extending all the way into central Georgia. So that will potentially affect all of the region. We may also see some gusty winds as well as potential fire weather concerns during the afternoon on Monday as temperatures warm and our relative humidity values fall. Then as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week, we'll probably see those fire weather concerns linger as relative humidity should remain pretty low across the region. All right, so we'll jump right in here and talk a little bit about Friday, both in terms of severe weather and the flooding risk. So with the storm system coming through, just ahead of it will be a pretty unstable air mass. You can probably feel the warm weather that's out there right now. Humidity will be returning as well, so we'll get that moisture return back to the region. And with that, we should see a line of storms develop and then move into northwest Georgia early in the morning on Monday, so probably just after sunrise. Then that line of storms will generally progress south and east through the Atlanta metro and then down into central Georgia as we go through the course of the day. It doesn't look like a particularly fast progression of the line, with the storms likely taking until sunset to fully exit central Georgia. The primary hazard with this is going to be damaging winds, although there is a lesser concern for possibly a brief tornado, likely lower end on the scale in terms of intensity, or some small hail, especially across North Georgia in the morning. Here's a look at your severe wind and tornado outlooks. You can see here across the eastern portion of the state, we do have that 2% chance of a tornado highlighted there. Again, this is even at the lower end of that scale probably for tomorrow. So while the risk is there, we don't want you to focus too heavily on it, as the overall potential for a tornado in any given location is really quite small. Something more likely to focus on here is our 5 to 14% risk of severe wind. That's really our primary hazard when we go with this event, with the squall line that moves through most likely producing that. Here's a quick look at timing. Got two things here. We've got kind of a timing graphic broken down for you on the right, as well as a loop from, in this case, the HRRR model, but it's generally pretty close to some of the other short-range guidance in terms of what it sees going on, and it's pretty close to what our thinking is as well. You can see that line of storms moving in here across northwest Georgia early in the morning, just slightly after sunrise, and then it gradually slides south as we go over the course of the day. Worth noting how disorganized it is in there. Really the best instability with this system is focused back over Alabama, so it's going to be interesting to see just how well that line can stay organized as it goes through the course of the day. And then for timing, again, broken down here into really 3 time zones for you. So in this sort of gold color up across the top, you'd expect the north storms to arrive sometime before noon. And then we're looking at early afternoon here across most of the southern Atlanta metro down into Macon, Columbus area. So sometime between noon and 4. And then if you're south of there, we'd be expecting the storms to arrive after 4 p.m. on Friday. All right, another aspect of this system is going to be the rainfall and the amounts that we get. Here's your excessive rainfall outlook, and you do see that a portion here of northwest Georgia is highlighted in a slight risk for excessive rainfall. With that, the main thing driving this risk is really that we have saturated soils, which I'll look at here briefly, I believe on the next slide. But that's really driving the risk, as opposed to our rain totals like the last couple of events. So we're looking at, with this event, rain totals that typically wouldn't cause flooding concerns. However, because we have had so much rain over the last week to 10 days, our soils are saturated, and that could potentially cause issues. So be watching for that. The risk is going to be with us all day, but it's really focused on the timing that we saw earlier with that line. So if you're in the northern part of the state, the risk is mainly during the first half of the day. And if you're down here in central Georgia, the risk is going to be during the afternoon for any sort of flooding concerns. And with that, what flooding does occur, can't rule out maybe some isolated flash flooding, but for the most part, we'd be expecting flooding of maybe urban or poorly drained areas. And then we could see some local river here or two that tries to rise to either bank full or minor flood stage. They are running fairly full already. Here's the rainfall totals that we're expecting. Generally highest across northwest Georgia, anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inches is what we have forecast there. We get more sporadic as we move down into the Atlanta metro, Columbus, up towards Athens, with the line of storms being more broken, only forecasting about 1/2 inch to 1 inch in there. And then as we get even further south, the storms become a little less continuous probably, and so we've got lower amounts there, generally 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain for you. Mentioned earlier about the saturated soils. This is just a quick look at where we are for the last 7 days. Worth noting that up here through the Atlanta metro down into portions of central and east central Georgia, we've seen anywhere from 200 to about a little bit over 300% of our normal rainfall for a 7-day period. So when we talk saturated soils, this is what we're generally looking at and thinking. So that could potentially, cause some concerns with the lower rainfall totals, whereas totals generally under 1.5 inches aren't going to cause us much concern if our soils are sitting somewhere near normal in terms of saturation. So this is our thinking there in terms of the flood concern. All right, so just another quick look here. This is just precipitation timing in general, whereas the last graphic we were looking at thunderstorm timing. And this one also goes out through next Thursday. So as you can see, once we get through the Friday, Saturday line of thunderstorms that moves through the area and those higher precipitation totals, we do get a period where we dry out during the day on Saturday. And then as we get into Sunday, we have another weak wave, with that mainly affecting areas down across central Georgia. So you see that those totals or precipitation chances rising for the Columbus, Macon area and generally lower elsewhere. And then as we head into early next week, again, we get a lot drier air mass moving into the region. And with that, our precipitation totals fall back, or precipitation chances fall back to around 0 until, unfortunately, around the start of next weekend when we'd be looking for the next storm system to move into the area. Here are your rain chances for the weekend, and these highlight largely what we talked about earlier. So for Saturday, we do have some lingering, anywhere from 15 to maybe 35% or so precipitation chances across central Georgia. In the morning hours, mainly there. The afternoon, these should fall off below 15%, and we wouldn't expect rain for most of the area. On Sunday, a wave should slide through here, southern Alabama into southern Georgia. With that, we do expect a round of scattered showers and thunderstorms to move through. So the highest precipitation chances are generally focused from Columbus, Macon southward, with those decreasing as we move towards the north up through the metro, and then falling below 15% by the time we get to the mountains of northern Georgia. Your temperatures for this weekend, despite the storm coming through on Friday, generally remain fairly warm, as we're going to be waiting until Sunday to really get the main cold front that comes through the area. So we're going to stay above average, predominantly for most folks in the 70s on both Saturday and Sunday, though. Notice that Atlanta metro split right there, right along I-85 is going to be about our cutoff, where you're going to be 70 degrees on Sunday afternoon. North of there, we're going to be trying to get there, but most likely in the upper 60s. And then here's your temperature outlook. This is a regional plot, so we're looking at temperatures for the entire region, all of northern and central Georgia, from this weekend into early next week. The things to note in here, noted it just a second ago too, but those above average temperatures that linger through the weekend, and then the cold front comes through Sunday night into Monday. With that, our temperatures start to go down, and so we end up with a chance for freezing or near freezing temperatures in the forecast there. And then here's your temperature forecast in terms of the maximum and minimums that we're expecting for a couple of cities over the next week. Just another way of looking at it here, you can see those warmer temperatures for highs over the weekend, falling back to our averages right now, right around 62, 63 or so. So low 60s across most of the area. So we'll be slightly below average or near average Monday, Tuesday, and then we start to creep up for the second half of next week. And then you can see that potential for frost or freeze concerns here as we get into Monday and Tuesday. So these being your low temperatures for those 2 days. And we're going to be flirting with that a little bit colder even in the north. So be close in there. We're quite a ways off from our last potential frost freeze date, so we're still definitely in the midst of that as being a potential hazard for the new vegetation coming out. All right, and then our final slide here is to take a quick glance at maybe what we're expecting for the next week. So this is our 8 to 14 day temperature and precipitation outlooks from the Climate Prediction Center. If we look at temperatures, so this would be valid essentially Thursday through next Thursday of next week. Generally near normal temperatures are what's expected there, and that is what most of the guidance favors as well. If we take a look at some of the long range stuff from the European ensemble or the American model ensemble as well. Probably more noteworthy here is our above average favoritism for precipitation across the southeast United States, with us anywhere in that 60 to 70% range for part of our area that we're going to see above normal precipitation next week. And that's not too surprising with the expected storm system that arrives sometime either the early part or during the middle of next weekend. With that, that's all I have for your briefing for today. This is just a reminder here of how you can contact us or get information from us. You can, of course, always follow us through our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. You can also reach us by phone, email, check out our forecasts online, or if you're one of our partners, you can see us through NWS chat or access our decision support page if you have any special events or anything else going on. Thanks again for joining. Again, my name is Brett Albright, meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, and this has been your weekly weather briefing for March 14th, 2024.